Hi, in this video, we're dealing with the first part of the IELTS speaking test. I'll show you how to answer the questions in this section, and we'll go through the most important principles and techniques that will help you give complete and natural responses. If you're not completely sure about the structure of the IELTS speaking test, there's another video where I break down the facts. Please watch that one first if you haven't already. You'll find the link in the description below. Before we dive in, let's just do a quick recap of the basics. Part 1 of the IELTS speaking test lasts about 4 to 5 minutes. It starts with the examiner introducing themselves and checking your ID. Then they'll ask you a series of 8 to 12 questions on typically 3 different topics, all of which are personal and about you. This is the easiest part of the test. After the introduction and the identity check, the exam officially starts, and you always get the same question. Do you work or are you a student? After this initial question, the examiner will ask a few follow-up questions related to work or study, depending on how you answered the first question. In case you're neither working nor studying, you need to say that. So maybe you're unemployed, or you're a full-time parent, or you're not working or studying in a formal setting, but you are preparing for IELTS. So in a way, informally, you are a student. In the example you see here, the initial work/study questions are followed by the second topic on hometown or accommodation, and the last one is related to hobbies or free time. Let's talk about how you should answer speaking part 1 questions. And the first most important principle is that honesty is the best policy. A lot of students ask, can I make up an answer if I don't know what to say? And my answer is always no. You should absolutely never do that. And here's why. First, lying or fabricating answers makes the test much harder for you. If you invent a story, your brain now has to do two things at the same time. Create a fake story, and at the same time think about correct grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and so on. That's way too much for your brain because you're not at home. You're not surrounded by familiar faces. You're taking an important exam. There's test anxiety, expectations. You're looking at a person who you've never seen before. Just know. Your brain should be focused on your language, not on keeping up with a made-up story. On top of that, honest answers help you stay consistent. In speaking tests, questions are often connected. If you start making things up, you might get stuck because the next question probably builds on your last answer. And if your answers don't match, you'll probably sound very unnatural and confused. And finally, if you talk about something from your own experience, that feels natural. You don't have to think about it hard. You just speak. You already know the details. You can focus on using good language instead of worrying how you're going to keep the story straight. So, the bottom line, be honest and let your real experiences guide your answers. The next important principle builds on the first one. You already know that honesty is the best policy, but what if you get a question that just doesn't relate to you at all? This is where you need to make the question work for you. You adapt the answer so you have something to talk about. Let's say the examiner asks, how often do you go to a park? but you live in a city where there are no parks or you simply don't spend time in parks, that's totally fine. And that's exactly what you're going to say. There aren't any parks in my city, but I often go to my grandmother's garden. And you then talk about your grandmother's garden. Or there aren't any parks where I live, but I love spending time walking around the city. And then you continue talking about streets, cafes, and whatever works for you. Here's another example. If the examiner asks, what's your favorite pair of shoes? But you don't really have a favorite pair of shoes. You can say, I don't think I have a favorite pair of shoes, but I can tell you about the ones that I'm wearing now. And you keep speaking about the shoes you're wearing at that moment. Or let's say you're asked, do you enjoy swimming? But you never swim. Instead of just saying, no, I don't, you could say, to be honest, I never swim, but I enjoy going to the beach. And you then go on talking about fresh air and walks along the shore. So, what happens here? You're still giving a natural, detailed answer, but in a way that works for your situation. The most important thing is to keep the conversation going. The examiner isn't really interested in your shoes or whether you like swimming. They just want you to speak. Keep in mind that when an examiner asks a question that doesn't quite fit your situation, it's not just a problem for you, it's also a challenge for them. Their goal is to get you talking because they can only assess your English if you're speaking. So don't let the conversation break. No awkward silence, no one word answers. You can always find a way to keep talking and give the examiner something to listen to. Now that you understand these two basic principles, being honest and making questions work for you, you don't have to stress about what if I get a difficult question or what if I don't have an answer. Let that fear go away because you know that no matter what question comes up, you can always steer it in a direction that works for you. Now that you know how to approach the questions, let's talk about how to structure your answers. A good answer in this section usually has 2 to 4 sentences, which translates to somewhere between 15 and 25 seconds of your speech, depending on the question, of course. So you don't need long, detailed answers, but at the same time, one sentence is not enough. So, how do you structure a good answer? Well, you need one sentence to answer the question directly, followed by 1 to 3 sentences to expand that answer. And I'll now tell you about 4 different ways how you can expand your answer after your direct response. You can give a reason and answer the why question. You can provide a real life example. You can compare and contrast, or you can add details to make your answer more complete. Let's now break down each of these 4 techniques so you can see exactly how to use them in your answers. Option number 1 to expand your answer is to explain why. Because if you give a short answer, the examiner will ask you why to get you to speak more. So don't wait for them, just say it. Here's an example. What is your favorite hobby? I'd say my favorite hobby is reading because it lets me escape into different worlds and go on all sorts of adventures. I'm especially into historical fiction because It gives me a glimpse into the past and helps me understand different cultures. Here's another one. Do you like to wake up early? Not really, because I find it difficult to function properly in the morning. I feel more energetic and productive in the late afternoon and evening, so I prefer staying up late and not waking up early. Explaining why is one of the easiest ways to expand your answer. It helps you sound more fluent because you're naturally adding details without stopping. Also, when you explain reasons, you have to use linking phrases such as because, since, and so, and this can help improve your coherence score. Option two, to expand your answer, is to give a specific example to illustrate your point. It helps you sound more real, and it also gives you a chance to use more topic specific vocabulary, which is great for your lexical resource score. Pay attention to the following answer. Do you like to cook? Yes, I like to cook, especially on weekends when I have more time. For example, last Saturday I made a homemade pizza with fresh ingredients, including tomatoes and basil from my garden. I really enjoy cooking and trying new recipes and flavors. Here's another example. Do you like shopping? Yes, I like shopping, but only when I have a specific item in mind. For example, last week I bought a new pair of running shoes because my old ones were getting worn out. Honestly, I prefer online shopping because it saves me time and I can compare prices easily. Option three, compare and contrast, is a great technique because it helps you generate ideas quickly by splitting your answer into two parts or more. You can split your answer in many ways, but the easiest is splitting by time and splitting by place. Let me give you an example. Do you enjoy cooking? In the past, I didn't like cooking at all because I found it difficult. But now, I really enjoy it, especially when I try new recipes. Or, do you prefer living in a house or an apartment? In summer, I prefer living in a house because it usually has a garden or outdoor space where I can sit outside and enjoy fresh air. But in winter, I'd rather live in an apartment because it's easier to heat and I don't have to worry about things like shoveling snow or keeping a big house warm. Let me now show you how to split by place. Here's the question. What kind of clothes do you like to wear? At work, I usually dress formally, so I wear a shirt and trousers. But at home, I just wear something casual like a t shirt and sweatpants. Another great way to expand your answers in IELTS Speaking Part 1 is by adding details. This means giving more specific information to make your response sound natural and complete. You can talk about your feelings or emotions, how something makes you feel. You can mention frequency, how often you do something, or you can talk about duration, how long you do it for. You can also answer WH questions like where, when, or who to add extra details about time, place, or people. Listen to this example. Do you like listening to music? Yes, I love listening to music because it helps me relax. I usually listen to music every evening after work to unwind. My favorite genre is jazz because it has a calming effect, and I often listen to it while reading a book. If I have more time, I also enjoy exploring new artists and songs. Here's another question. Do you exercise regularly? Yes, I exercise about 3 times a week because it keeps me healthy and energetic. I usually go for a run in the morning or do some yoga at home. I find that exercising improves my mood and helps me stay focused throughout the day. Let me summarize what we've covered. One sentence, or even worse, one word answers are simply not enough. That's not going to work in the IELTS speaking test. You need between 2 and 4 sentences for a complete answer that sounds natural. You start with a direct answer to the question and then you expand. You can do that by explaining why and giving reasons. You can add a specific example. You can split your answer by time, place, or even mood. Think about it. And you can add details and include your feelings, emotions, duration, frequency, or answer all those WH questions. Each of these will help you sound more fluent, more natural, and allow you to show off your vocabulary. Now it's time for you to practice what you've learned. After I finish speaking, you're going to see 2 examples of extended answers for part 1 questions. Your task is to read them carefully and analyze them. Look closely at how the answers are expanded and try to identify which specific techniques and principles were used. After you finish this task, please download the companion worksheet. You'll find the link in the description. There, you'll get more practice with the compare and contrast technique, and you will also find a full analysis of these extended responses so you can check your answers.